It is one of the most iconic houses in cinematic history. 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. We know the film, but the true story it was based on is a dark maze of brutal murder, supernatural claims, and allegations of a multi-million-dollar hoax. This is the enigma of the Amityville horror. The story does not begin with the Lutz family. It begins 1 year earlier, in the dead of night. November 13, 1974. Ronald DeFeo Jr. took a high-powered rifle and systematically executed his entire family as they slept. 6 victims. At his trial, DeFeo claimed voices in the house commanded him to kill. He was convicted on 6 counts of second-degree murder. The house, stained by the tragedy, went up for sale. Just 13 months later, George and Kathy Lutz bought their dream home with their 3 children. They would last only 28 days. The haunting began almost immediately. Heavy footsteps echoed through the empty halls, and unexplained cold spots appeared, chilling them to the bone. Kathy Lutz would be mysteriously levitated from her bed. Their youngest daughter, Missy, described a new imaginary friend. A demonic, pig-like creature with glowing red eyes named Jodie. George Lutz's personality began to warp. He became sullen, angry, and obsessed with the fireplace. And every single morning, he woke with a jolt at 3:15 a.m. The estimated time of the DeFeo murders. The supernatural activity escalated. Swarms of flies gathered inside the house, despite the dead of winter. Strange, gelatinous green slime oozed from the keyholes. A hidden, windowless chamber was found in the basement, which the family called the Red Room. Their dog, they claimed, nearly strangled itself on its leash against that door. On the 28th day, they reported a final, violent confrontation. A force so powerful, it tore the front door from its hinges. They fled in terror, leaving all their possessions behind. They would never return. The story exploded into the public eye. Renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called in. They entered the house with a full team and a news crew. Lorraine, a self-proclaimed clairvoyant, was immediately overwhelmed, claiming to feel a truly demonic presence in the house. The investigation's most famous piece of evidence was captured that night, an infrared photograph taken on an empty staircase. It appears to show a small boy with glowing eyes, peeking from a doorway. Many believe this is the ghost of John DeFeo. The book, The Amityville Horror, became a global bestseller. The blockbuster movie followed. The case seemed closed, until the narrative collapsed. Years later, the story was challenged by a key figure, Ronald DeFeo's own lawyer, William Weber. Weber admitted, publicly, that the haunting was a complete fabrication. He claimed he and George Lutz created this horror story over many bottles of wine. The motive? Money. Weber was preparing an insanity plea for DeFeo's retrial. A haunted house story would prove the house was infested with demons. And George Lutz, deep in debt, saw an opportunity for a lucrative book deal. Suddenly, the evidence looked different. The Red Room was just a cellar crawl space. The oozing slime was never photographed. The flies were a known problem for the Riverside property. And the famous Ghost Boy photo? Critics argue it is simply one of the Warrens' own investigators. The case is now split into 2 irreconcilable realities. The believers, who trust the testimony of the Warrens and the Lutz family, who maintained their story was true until the day they died. And the skeptics, who see only a cynical cash grab. A hoax, built on the bones of a very real tragedy. 112 Ocean Avenue remains a silent witness. Was it the site of America's most documented haunting, or its most infamous lie?